Continuing part 3, the story of the scroll, the reversal, dreaming or waking. The story of Esther tells us how emancipation from development comes to expression in the world of the exile, how in our reality, where God operates from secrecy, the confrontation with the forces of development takes place, how in the first half their significance increases, although even then the reversal is predestined, how the crisis arises and how everything is changed into its antithesis. In the apparent barrenness of the world in its exile appearance, this happening introduces something like a revolution, so improbable even in a dream. Things are becoming so strange, one simply cannot remain commonplace, hence the custom to behave abnormally at Purim. People are supposed to get so absorbed in the joy of the reversal that they no longer know the distinction between cursed be Haman and blessed be Mordecai. If we stop to consider what it implies, then the light of understanding may dawn on us. At Purim, the custom is to disguise oneself. It is a masquerade, as if to say, "You thought I was so-and-so?" Not at all. I'm exactly the opposite. Thus, it is in fact, with this chats off, revolutions all the time. Don't let us forget, the prophets at that very moment get their visions. The point of time is not a dot or a square on the calendar, like all points of time on earth, which are projections of the points of time in the absolute. The moment depends on the individual man. If in him takes place what the whole Purim story tells us, then at that point of midway, where the completely improbable makes its appearance, occurs what is called prophetic vision. Then there is the contact with that other world, the coincidence. Prophecy too implies, did you think I was so-and-so, and that such and such is my name? Well, that's where you make a mistake, a terrible mistake. I am somebody entirely different, and my name is different. At the Feast of Purim, the practice prevails. It is really true. To play a game of chance. Cards, for instance. Childish, you think? Certainly not. Extremely wise and showing deep insight. For the matter of that, it is tradition. For suddenly, the game of cards assumes a different character. At this game, as a matter of fact, people deride the idea of chance. Did I happen to draw that card? That's what you think. That is what Haman also thought. Why it was I drew that very card is Nistar, and now past midway. I just know. For now, Esther is secret no longer, and myself as Jehudai, as Ivri, I know it was all God's guidance, even my drawing that card. And I emphasize it at this very moment. I am now doing all sorts of things about which everybody would say it was a game of chance I was playing. But I know that God guides everything into the veriest detail. I know that nothing is mere chance, that it's only the exile that makes us think so. For everything is that same game, like my game of cards. Even there, where you think that you can take things into your own hands. Haman reasoned out the month of Adar, and it was just as closely reasoned as the card I am now drawing. The wine now has no longer the danger of Amalek in it. The latter has been hanged. His feet no longer touch the earth. He hangs, and with him, with his world, hang his 10 sons. The wine has now got rid of the danger. Haman is no longer in the wine. Now the wine only gives us the feeling of blissful emancipation, of an emancipation whose old, often depressing, often self-willed standards have been abandoned, for they were merely related to one half and pretending the other half did not exist. Now I am drinking the wine, and all the standards of former times have been dropped, even the concepts cursed and blessed. And there are many, many people who now at last see it also, naturally. Many there are now who know themselves to be Jehudim. They have recognized it. The transit from one half to the other has shown it to them. It is all the state of the coming day, the 8th day, as ancient lore calls it. Waking, dreaming, one just does not know. What one does know is that there is an unutterable distinction with what is now called formally. There is a custom in Judaism on the seventh day of the week, passing into the coming, to express that distinction with the words from the Scroll of Esther, where the immense joy burst out on all sides. Namely, the Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. 8:16. This is indeed beyond the seventh day, just as the tree on which Haman is hanged is beyond 7 to the square. Thus, the Feast of Hanukkah similarly is an event contrary to all that is expected, a happening with the 8th day. In that case, similarly, miracles in a world of the exile. For the same reason at Hanukkah, also the custom of games of luck, card games, with a view to underlining again, such is life. To the full, it is now chance, now forethought, management, and planning. To us, Ivrim, it is everything, one thing as well as the other, God's guidance unto the smallest detail. That is why we play those games as if they were a divine provocation. Our game is just as important as your heavy politics and science. For what do you know of the intention of the Nistar? But we see God's hand in every happening, also in things you would only smile at. We play these games as grown-ups. It is the attitude of the Jehudim in this world, and this is what the world is like when the Great Revolution has taken place. The gifts and the portions. The story of Esther has it that after the event of Haman's hanging, people are to give each other portions and also make gifts to the poor. It looks so nice, good to be kept in memory. Yet let us desist from mixing these things up with standards of expedience. Giving portions is the opposite to what the merchant or the exchanger knows as his principle. If such as one gave portions or gifts, nothing but gifts, he would have nothing to live on, as indeed he expresses it. Making gifts in this story comes from the sphere of doing things gratuitously, for this is indeed the standard of this new world. Everything in the new world is constituted of giving each other portions, making gifts to the poor and destitute. One never asks whether it is useful. One is just glad to give. All is joy and gladness. Is not this how God gives of himself that the world may exist? Is not that the very foundation of things? Is it only the world of the porosumodai, the world of duality, that knows the merchant as principle? But after the world is freed from Amalek, that principle has disappeared and people give everything for the joy of giving. One gives the other mutually. It is the custom to send presents to at least 2 other people, for it is precisely this duality that has to experience emancipation. Every individual himself, similarly, is one of 2 people that are sent presents to, and one sends at least 2 objects. For here again it is duality that thus feels the breath of another world. Duality feels the descent of the neshama, recognizes the Shekinah. If only for this reason, giving gratuitously has a specific power, the power of the other world. Hence the custom not to receive a reward for handing on Torah. Torah can only be handed on gratuitously. Is not Torah, however, the whole life? Whosoever has experienced the reversal, whoever has emerged from profoundest darkness to the light, will not be able to give except gratuitously. People also give to the children. It is called Purim money, Hanukkah money. It is not the amount that matters, neither is that date the only point of time on which one gives for the sake of giving. The point of time, the date, merely makes clear that in totality of life, it is this one nuance that comes into prominence in our own time. Because of it, however, it continues to exist throughout life. That is why it is repeated year in, year out. Whoever merely acts in this way at that moment is an idolater. He has built an image in time for himself. Whoever, as he prefers to call it, for he wants to be severe, rests on the Sabbath according to the scriptures, and for the rest of the week is convinced that the world is not properly constituted and thinks he has to work hard for the betterment of the world, is a hypocrite, is an idolater. All the world as a whole is the seventh day. It is a unit. This world as a whole is also Easter, is also Purim, is also Hanukkah. Whosoever only gives gratuitously at Purim has not really understood. To such a one, Purim merely is a kind of carnival, a kind of socio-psychological institution of expedience that enables him to become expansive just for once. Whosoever lives in that way forms part of the 974 worlds that fall, never to return here again. For in that case, he has made a pretense of Purim with expensive presents. His social standing has been improved by it. He may even seem as rich as Korach and Haman. He will disappear like Korach, like Haman. Hence, especially gifts to the children, also to the child within ourselves, for it is that very child that feels so unhappy when it can live in the sign of Purim. For it is that very child that feels so happy when it can live in the sign of Purim or of Hanukkah, the sign of the miracle, while God seemed absent, when God seemed to sleep and slumber and even to be dead. That sign is exactly this giving, this acting gratuitously, this receiving a present, just enjoying a surprise. The child within us wants to find out that this wise man, this knower, can do things gratuitously, that he can do so in spite of all this cleverness. For the wise man also pursues this his way of development, and the child in him is where the neshama comes into man. When the neshama perceives that all that has already been developed can act for nothing, can give without mercenary motives, there is immense joy. That is how the child beams when it gets things at Purim. The miracle of Purim, that astonishing reversal of development, is the gift of God. Individual man gives the gift of fasting, of the unleavened. All this is enacted in those 4 days from the 13th up to and including the 16th of Nisan. The moment of Purim, however, in the course of the year falls on the 14th and 15th of Adar, also at the point where the moon reverts and something more important happens to the physical form. On the 13th of Adar, the Jehudim were expected to come to their end. It was reversed, and those that could not tolerate the Jehudim, those that hated the Jehudim, came to their end. Those that could not tolerate them, neither in the world nor in themselves.